G'day, how yous all going out there? This is Ian from Australia here, your acrylic guru, Ianapolis. Now today, there's another moon. It's going to be like a moon horizon. You saw the picture in the opening credits there. Alright, it's a pretty simple one for you beginners out there. And that's the canvas we're going to use. It's a reclaimed canvas, but I know some of you want to know what size canvas it is. There's the sizes right there, eh? Can you see them? They're in centimetres. Those of you that like to know what size it is. And going up the side of the screen there are the colours we're going to use. There's not many in this one, so that means there's not a lot. Alright? Not too hard to work out, eh? Nice and easy, not very many at all. And what else is there? Like I said, this is a reclaimed canvas, so I'm going to do it on a reclaimed canvas. A reclaimed canvas, for those of you who aren't familiar with what that is, it's one that I've done a painting on, and it's like, I'll use it again. I've painted over it white, and I'm going to paint on it again. Alright, so I've reclaimed it. Now, get on down the palette here for me and have a look at what we're going to do. Down here I've got my puddle of clear medium retarder, and I've got two greys out of my tube. If you don't have greys in a tube, you can always mix it up with black and tone them down to light, medium and dark tones with white, alright? So let's get back up to the canvas again. Right, now watch what I do here. Those of you who want to blend the way I blend, is always this procedure, okay? You've got your canvas. Now, if you bought it from a shop, sometimes or a lot of the time they're already gesso primed, okay? But whether they're gesso primed or they're not, still I do this procedure, all right? This is how I get my blending done. I'll grab my squirty bottle, squirt it so it's just mist on there. It's not running down the canvas, all right? But this painting isn't going to have a lot of blending, just the top half of the sky. So we're going to grab that grey. Now there's me grey. I'm just using a 2-inch brush to apply it onto the canvas, because you don't want to muck around with a smaller brush. You just want to get it done. Now I'm putting retarder into that grey, alright? Did you see that? Look at that. That paint is full of retarder. Back up to the canvas now. Alright, now the top part of the sky, this is wet. This grey has retarder in it. It's not quite wet enough. See, it's not... Alright, get that on there. Don't muck around with it, just get right into it. Scratch it into those potholes on your canvas. I want to come to about there with the sky. It's going to be a grey sky. Now we want to put some dimension into this sky, some gradient, some atmosphere, just so it doesn't look like a flat sky. Alright, so I've got my other lighter tone of grey here, so I'm mixing that onto the brush. I've just cleaned that applying brush, and that's got retarder in it as well, because you watch how this retarder makes your acrylic paints blend. Be sure you're using a good quality acrylic paint. Now it didn't take long to put that grey on, so we're going to put a lighter tone of grey on. It didn't take that long because we didn't stuff around, alright, and the best thing to do is get this one lighter into there, come up. I'll get a bit more before it fades into the dark. Come up. I've got my big 2-inch brush this way, pushing it into the paint, and now I'm coming sideways, and I'm going to blend that into the darker grey at the top. Look at that. See how quick, easy, no mess, no buggerising around. It was done in a flash. If you blink, you would have missed it. Anyway, we're going to put a bit of white there now, just to give it a bit more. I've got me white. This is just the flowing white paint in the retarder, and pushing it into my applying 2-inch brush. Use any brush to apply your paint to the canvas. I just like this one because it doesn't muck around. Now we want this white going into the grey there. I'll sort of sweep it up there like that. Sweep it up there like that. Blend it a bit. And I better stop, because what you got to do is do the magic. Grab another brush to blend. I'm using a 2-inch brush to blend this. Oh, it's got cat hair and fur all over it. Okay, so that's nice and dry. It's beautiful. It's got a thick surface. Some brushes you buy from the hardware, they might be thin like that. Let's just say like this brush here. That is no good for blending, even though it's a 2-inch brush. Anyway, so this white I put on, I want to lightly twist and then start contacting it and tapping it and twisting it into that other medium tone grey there. All right? Wipe your brush. It's always important. See, I've got a bit of hair on there. You little mongrel. It's always important to wipe your brush as you blend. Look at that. It's still there. All right, let's go again. And we're blending that. So all those greys are like airbrush type of look, you know. Get that up there. We're just getting rid of all our brush strokes. That retarder that I put in there has allowed all this to happen. This is a great way to do a sky when you're doing blue skies and fluffy clouds. I've done that in many videos. All right, so that is all blended. Alrighty, I've done that. Now I've got to dry it. So as we can do our next procedure. If you don't dry it, your paint will mutter and you'll be annoyed, alright? So that's why we've got to dry this acrylic paint. Now why we dried it is because I had to put my moon stencil on there, and those of you who like moons, you've watched many different ways how to do a moon. I do many of them, and I find this way is a lot easy, no mucking around at all. It just gets straight into it, wham bam, your moon's up there. Alright? So you can cut a stencil out with some paper, any size circle you want, or some acetate. Acetate is that clear film. Like this is just out of the front folio of a university file, this film here. Now come down to this small palette here. I've got my good structured white paint there, titanium white, and I've got two greys, like a medium and a light tone grey. And I always use sponges. You can use sponges, tissues, whatever you like, okay? We're going to stamp our moon onto the painting, all right? So I'm going to start with, let's say, the darker one, all right? I'm getting that. Look at your sponge. Get it on there. It's good. I might have to wet it a bit, just so it transfers onto the painting really good. But don't wet it too much. You don't want it sloppy, turning into snot. Now this is not going to be a full moon, as you know, we're going to have the hills in it, so we've got to sort of keep it up the top there. So with the moon, I've done a few of them, and I feel you need to do the dark area first, which will create some shadow. Look how easy that is. I'm doing it with one hand. You can use a brush to take your time. I'm a bit limited for time here. So I want to sort of bring this darkness down a bit so it'll stand out when I highlight it. And it's up to you how well you detail this moon. All right, I'm going to turn that sponge around and pick up the medium tone grey. Get him on there like that. Now this will probably mix with that darker grey. And we're going to start getting this. Try not to kill everything. You need some of that dark there, okay? Just like that. All right, it makes sense when we've pulled the stencil off. Everything makes sense when it's finally been pulled off. Now, of course, I've got two sponges. I'll quickly put that one to the side. And I've got I've touched it, you idiot. I've got a cleaner one now, so I'm going to pick up the pure white. And this is going to highlight the top area of that moon. We only want to highlight the top area of it to get the look we're going for, okay? Alrighty, let's give it a go. Beautiful. Careful with your sponge, you don't come down and make weird patterns. Practice this, so when you're going to do a moon painting, you know exactly what to do. we can frig dig around with that until the cows come home, but I've got to be a bit quick here. So I'm going to pull that stencil off, just like that. And we've got a simple evaporating moon. It was that easy, done with one hand. Things are coming along quite well, I think. Now we've got to be careful when we put these hills in, not to have them too low or too high, all right? So that's our next thing, and we're only going to use one colour blue, but I want to use an extra colour, French ultramarine, just to give the foreground blue a darker, rich colour. But the rest of the blues are going to be just one colour toned down with white and gradiate to a darker colour to the front of the painting, all right? Get yourself some flathead chisel brushes. If you haven't got any, get yourself some from the art store. They come in all different widths and they're great for doing a lot of acrylic painting. Now I've got my first toned blue here. It's very pale and I'm going to gradually darken this up as I need it to the foreground of the painting, all right? So load your brush up, chisel it on there like that so you've got a nice sharp edge, all right? You can see where I've scratched in and outlined my mountain layout here. So you know how the oil men and girls do their knife at this on? We use these flat chisel brushes. I do anyway. So you know, I've blow dried all this. If I didn't, this will be mudding up on me and it'll be like, oh, what's going on? You know, so I want to keep the top edge of this first distant mountain hill nice and sharp. All right. Boom. Doesn't matter if you go into the other bit there. Let's get it nice and sharp. The more sharp, the more better your painting will look. All right, now there's our line there. All right, that's where it's going to be behind these front ones. So what we do, we've blocked that in, and where it meets the next mountain before it, it's always good to blend a bit of white in between there so it sort of sinks it back in the distance with some mist or something. So there's no retarder in this. This is just raw out the tube, mixed up. All right? Get yourself some good quality paints if you want to do a good painting. Wipe that brush. Don't worry about washing it. Wipe it. Get some white on there. Okay? Not too much, just enough to where this mountain is meeting that one. You want to dance some white, turn your brush around to pick up the stuff off the other side. Just there like that. Wipe your brush, pick up some more. I'm doing bits at a time to be safe. I don't want it too... There we go. Now grab yourself another brush. I've just got something I can blend this with. And I want to merge that white, tease it, don't scratch too hard. You don't want to dig into your paint underneath. And I want to dance that up into that lighter colour blue, okay? If this was bigger, it'll be more easy to do, but it's such a tiny little area, so we're just mucking around here to get it looking reasonably good. Now down here, I've got the phthalo blue. I'm going to grab a bit and I want to mix a corner up to another darker tone, okay? Get it on both sides of your brush. We're finished with all that lighter tone, so we can pretty much use all this up and make our next tone darker. Don't go too dark. We want to gradually get darker as we come to the front of the painting. So there we go, that's a distinctive, you can see there the difference. That's what's on the canvas now. This is what's going to go on there next. We're going to find our next layer, which is this one here. I want to get the top in nice and sharp first, all right? So get that in nice and sharp. Load your brush up again if you have to. And find that line and come in front of that other one. And see what that white mist has done. And we want to come in front of this one as well. Where are we? if you find your paint, like I'm finding it right now, it's all right, but it's just not coming off the brush. So I've just dipped it in water a bit, and you watch now, this is going to flow off my, look at that, it's flowing off my brush now. All right, now this first blue that we mixed up, I've got that back on my brush, and that's going to, on here we used white, so on this one we're going to use this first colour blue. So roughly where the valley might fill up with mist, you don't want to go all the way around the edge like that. You just want to sort of go where it'll be filling up with mist. So I'm saying about here, dab it on, get it, stamp it on, don't brush it in because that paints is still a bit on the wet side. And then I've cleaned that blending brush that I blended the first mountain with. Get those lumps out. So I'm grabbing that again, and I want to dance that into that blue as well. If you do a bit at a time, if you find it might dry up on you, just do a bit, then blend it. Just so as it's a gradient blend, it's nice and subtle, and it looks fantastic, and you love it, and everyone's happy. All right, so that's created a lighter hue of mist. Okay, now we're going to go for our next tone of blue. So grab a knife or something and then start mixing this one up. A bit darker, okay? Noticeably darker. Leave a bit so you've got to use again if you need to use some more of it. We want this one a bit more darker. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Now let's get our other mountain on there. Find your edge of it. If you feel your paint's a bit wet underneath, stop and dry it, by all means. Okay, I'll block that in. See, I've wet this, you can see how it's flowing because it's been wet. I'm going to go to the top of the other line I've scratched in so I know where to stop. Now these closer mountains can start be getting a bit more detailed, and how I mean detailed, I'll just show you a simple little effective thing. Right, the paint's wet, it's on your canvas, you're in a happy mood, you're doing all right at the moment, your coffee's there ready to be drunk again. Now the top can start to be a little bit iffity-affity, like little branches sticking up or whatever, little like that. And grab yourself a smaller brush, preferably something small and filberty. I've brushed it in white and wiped it off on my towel, just so you can sort of get some, just dab. It might not look like much, dab. Get some, this is sort of breaking up your blue. You don't have to do this, but it adds a bit of closeness to your mountains. You know, there's all trees there, they're starting to come into play. So we're just scratching them in like that. And it's creating a bit of surface area on that mountain instead of it just looking like a blue blob. We will do the other one here, which is sneaking in about here somewhere. Now we're going to grab that filberty brush again. I've just grabbed some, and then let's work out, all right, we'll get the lighter side on this side. We're just sort of bringing those mountains in. Yeah, sort of, we're creating distant trees in the background on them, you know. Up here, it's subtle, but it's something. It's always good to have subtle but something in your painting because it makes you happy. When you're happy, oh, you just become wonderful in your own mind when you're painting, and there's nothing better than when you're painting that you're feeling wonderful, all right? It's good to feel wonderful when you're painting. All right, we've done that, Now we've got to add this blue to the mist on this section. Now we'll do there, we've got to work out, all right, around about here-ish, so whatever's in the way there. Deep in the valley, right about here, some. Grab your blending brush. Do a bit at a time, it's safe. just dry my one because I washed it from the previous blend. There we go, yeah, get it down there. Do a bit at a time, so we've done that. So there's a bit in the valley there and some here. Down among the valley in the misty moonlight. Alright, we got that one done, and we probably put a bit over here. See, you don't want to leave lefty, not lefty, you don't want to leave the right side out. If you leave the right side out, he will feel left out. There we go. Alright, I've grabbed the rest of my phthalo blue and I've just added a bit of white, just so it's darker than the other previous colours, alright? Alright, we've got one mountain coming here. Get him up there. You can make him a bit torn and tattered at the top. It doesn't have to be as sharp. Now this one that I'm doing now, I want to have it lighter at the bottom than this one, because the bottom of this is a lot more closer. So I've got that there, and I'll grab that second lighter one that we had before, and that's going to do all here. But I didn't wash the brush. It's got a bit of darkness in there. So you don't muck around with it. Bomb your brush up and load it on, and then just get it on there. You don't want to frig around like a little fly trying to work out which part of the canvas to paint. You just want to get into it. Don't be shy to put those brush strokes on there. The first brush stroke is the hardest, but the last brush stroke is never the last. Alright, now see that? This is part of that mountain. You don't want to be an idiot and leave it like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to blend it. Grab something, I've got another blending brush here. Grab something to blend. That's too big, and because there's no retarder in there. So I want to blend that blue down. Grab some of the darker one, and you want, if anything, go from dark to light. Not too much light in this one. There we go, there we go, there we go. A bit more. Now we've subtly done that the way we want. This one here needs to be a bit lighter now. So this colour here is going to be our light source for this one here. So I'm just picking that up, and we'll get the bottom of this gradually coming up there like that, right up the height of this cliff. Grab your blending brush that you had and tease that into that blue, merge it so it's a soft meeting. When paints go out to a meeting, it has to be a soft meeting, nothing violent, hard and heavy. Put a bit more on there, dab it in, stab it in, let the brush move, let the paint come off the brush, wipe your brush on a paper towel, and then these ugly hard bits, soften them down again like that. Alright, we're nearly finished, we're nearly getting there. This is great, I'm happy, excited. Let's just pull back and have a coffee. As you can see from a distance, it's looking quite arty, and that's what we're going for in something like this. Something simple, effective, but arty at the same time. Getting a bit hot under this light here, but it's all right because I've got me coffee going. I've got a cold coffee today, so it won't be neglected. Now, we're going to keep with the colours in the painting, which is blues and greys. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to put some grey down there, all right? So I'm probably going to need a brush to put it in. So let's see if I can get one in my hand. Done. Too easy, eh? Alright, we're going to go with the darker out of those greys that I used previously. I've only used a medium and a dark colour. Alright, so before I put it on here like that, I want you to come in really close and have a damn good look at what I'm doing, alright? Down here, where's our line? Keep some of that white that you've got in there. This is just distant. Alright, there's our grey. I've cleaned that same brush and I'm picking up the lighter tone grey that I use. Make yourself 2 tones of grey for this painting, a lighter one and a darker one. And just with this, we just want to give it a bit of hurry-curry down here, just something like that. Turn your brush around, get some. So you've just added some light hue there of grey. And that's it. Down here I'm using that French ultramarine now. I'm chiseling it onto my brush, which is a different blue, and we want to get this other four mountain on here. There we go, subtle but enough. Now the paint I use for this one here, I've still got on my palette. I want to pick some of that up in this brush and just create the ledge, give it some dimension, alright, which is here. And we're going to dance that around, trying to keep it so it creates a ledge, a flat ledge on the top of this rock. Get some more on there. That's it. I didn't have enough on before. I want it sort of scratched in so it's got texture and surface looking. We can come past the point and cut it back in with that blue, the ultramarine blue. So we've sort of made a ledge. I'm just getting rid of that edge there, that's it. I'm grabbing the French ultramarine again and I want to bring this back in front of that again just to sit that bit back. There we go, just like that. Mix a little bit of lightness in here just to get some distinct this edge up a bit. Wipe the brush on my paper roller towels and scratch that in just so it doesn't look like you've wiped your brush on the painting. Let's give this here, I've just put a little bit of white and sort of put some highlights on there, or some sort of texture, or that'll do. Alright, we're just about finished. I'm just going to put a silhouette of a person here looking up at the moon. I'm using my small paint pen, or you can have a brush. I'm just going to use this to outline the silhouette, roughly a couple of legs there, and then I'll thicken it up with a paintbrush. Let's try and get the actual look of a person there. Look like a lady looking over. Now I'm using a really tight, small chiseled brush, flathead brush. I'm just using carbon black, and now I'll just carefully fill that in. And of course I'm putting a little bit of grey into that and giving her a shadow coming out here. Just some sort of shadow. Alright, I'm just going to sign it now. got a signature on that. Now we'll whack a frame on it and see how she looks in a frame, eh? Let's grab this frame, put that on there. There we go, we've got our moon rising up in the background on the horizon with different layers of mountains coming darker as they come closer to us. We've got a silhouette on the top of this hill here. That's not too shabby, eh? Right, so in the link in the description below will be a link to my Patrons page. All you subscribers that subscribe to my channel and haven't discovered me on Patrons yet, support me and my content on my Patrons page and follow me on Facebook. There'll be a link for that as well. So if you've liked what I've done today, you tell a friend, but if you don't, you tell everybody, all right? All the best, goodbye, good luck, and good on ya!